Hey, it's Justin from Jacob Buck Reptiles bringing you a multi-part pro tips this time on breeding ball pythons. And I'm going to split this up into different sections, but the very first section will be talking about the temperatures you need during the breeding season and how do you know if your ball python is big enough to produce and breed successfully. So the first part being is temperatures. I use a combination of different methods, and if you go to my website you can download the exact schedule or breeding recipe of what I do. I use a combination of what other people have done, of what I've read and the things I've experienced. I've cut some things out that other people do I don't feel like is necessary. Trying to simplify but also keep that same level of effectiveness and success. So one thing I don't do is I do not mess with my light cycle at all. I turn the lights on, they click on and off, 12 hours on, 12 hours off, and I'll come in here whenever I want to turn them on. The ball pythons do not seem to be affected by it much. If you think about it, they come from an area close to the equator, so there's no reason why there's not much of a light cycle there between winter and summer or rainy season and on, so I don't think that has much effect on their breeding at all. Now what I do is I drop my temperatures in the winter months, which is their breeding season. So around November 1st, which is around the time I start, I'll drop the temperatures from the regular, I keep them around 82 round the clock, ambient temperatures. In November 1st, I'll go ahead and start dropping them in the evenings down into the high 70s. And as the season progresses into January, February, I may even start dropping it a little lower into around 75. Now back during the day, I'm still bringing it back up to 80, so they have that little bit of warm time. So I'm just doing this every day. In fact, I just set my ambient temperatures, the thermostats, and the evening they click down to 76, and in the morning they come back up to 80. And so the ball pythons have a choice. They have the choice of their heat tape. I leave it on non-stop. I never turn that down at all. They have a choice of if they want that heat, they can have it, but they have that cooler ambient temperature in the front of their tubs. They can move away from the heat and have that gradient. That gradient is very important in your tubs. If your ball python is stuck in a small tub on top of the heat all the time, it's not going to be able to properly develop the follicles through the year. Now, are your ball pythons big enough to breed? I get this question a lot, and a lot of people think that they can breed a lot younger than they actually can successfully. I'm going to show you a couple females. I'll show you one female and one male that are around the smallest that I would breed a ball python. The first one here, this is the pastel orange ghost, a really pretty female. And she right now is around 16, I'm estimating here, 16 to 1800 grams. Now, I would actually breed a ball python down to 1500 grams, which is a little bit smaller than this. But what I'm really looking for is that she has good girth on her, that she's at least as big around as a ball python egg, okay, and that she's not thin. See here, she's got a good ball python shape. She's not overweight, but it fattens out nicely here in the middle, and is kind of a stubby, solid snake. If they're rail thin, it doesn't matter how much they weigh. If they're really, really thin, then they don't have the fat reserves necessary to successfully produce eggs. What most people don't realize is that the eggs take a big tax on the female. When a female lays a full clutch, it ends up taking almost half of her body weight every time. And so that's a significant investment for a ball python. If it doesn't have solid fat reserves to start out, it's not going to be able to make that investment successfully and give you good eggs. You'll either end up with no clutch at all, or you'll end up with slugs. So there's the female. Now it takes most females at least a year and a half up to 3 years to get to that size, depending on how well they eat and how much you feed them. But that's the size of where I would consider breeding them. On males, I'm going to show you the smallest male that I would personally breed, and this is around 500-600 grams. This is on the small side. They can breed a little bit smaller. I've had mixed results as far as the levels of success, as far as good eggs from them when they're younger than this. But since the males don't have to actually push eggs out of their body, they don't need to be nearly the size of females in order to successfully produce. Young males are not going to be as good of breeders usually as males that are larger are. And it seems like every year that they successfully breed, they kind of get more experience under the belt and they become better breeders the following year. But that's kind of the smallest that you can really expect to have a lot of success with a male with, is this size or bigger. Some males can get huge, and that's fine. If a good breeder's in. Some people say they're less motivated when they're huge. I found that they're perfectly fine, and the females, although they lose a lot of weight during the season, it's amazing how much weight the males can lose too, because it's a lot of effort they go through, especially if you're breeding to a lot of different females. So there we go. We covered temperatures, and we covered the size of your ball pythons when they produce. Hopefully I answered some questions for you, and that's part one. It's a wrap.